She said, I know I'm going to jail, but can I braid my daughter's hair one last time? I pulled her over for speeding through a stop sign where kids were actively riding their bike through the neighborhood. Routine stop. She was trying to leave a piece of herself with her child. Before I cuffed her, she looked up at me and said, thank you. Not for the break, but for the dignity.
They told us family separation only happened at the border. But this is the real story. Not in Texas, not in cages. Right here, in our neighborhoods, to our families. This is what they never want to talk about.
3 U.S. citizen children have been deported with their mothers. Now, this is according to the Washington Post. The family's lawyer says one of them is a 4-year-old with stage 4 cancer, deported without medication or ability to contact doctors. The family's lawyers are also saying their clients were denied communication with family and legal representatives before being deported. And it's raising concerns about the issue of due process, that it's being violated. So let me ask you, is everyone on U.S. soil, citizens and non-citizens, entitled to due process?
Yes, of course. But let me tell you, it looks in immigration standing, the laws are very specific. If you're in this country unlawfully, you have no right to be here and you must be removed. That's what the law says. Somehow over the last 20 years, we've completely lost this notion that somehow or completely adopted this idea that, yes, we have immigration laws, but once you come into our country illegally, it triggers all kinds of rights that can keep you here indefinitely. That's why we were being flooded at the border. And we've ended that, and that's why you see a historically low number of people not just trying to cross our border, trying to cross the border into Panama, all the way down in the Darien Gap. I mean, it's been a huge help for those countries as well. On the headline, that's a misleading headline. Okay, 3 U.S. citizens, ages 4, 7, and 2, were not deported. Their mothers, who are legally in this country, were deported. The children went with their mothers. If those children are U.S. citizens, they can come back into the United States if there's their father or someone here who wants to assume them. But ultimately, who was deported was their mothers who were here illegally. The children just went with their mothers. But it wasn't like, you guys make it sound like ICE agents kicked down the door and grabbed the 2-year-old and threw him on an airplane. That's misleading. Yeah. That's just not true.
Just to be clear, because I do want to get to the overhaul at the State Department, is it the U.S. policy to deport children, even U.S. citizens, with their families, and I hear what you're saying, without due process, just to be very clear there?
Well, no. Again, if someone's in this country unlawfully, illegally, that person gets deported. If that person is with a 2-year-old child or has a 2-year-old child and says, I want to take my child with me, well, then you have 2 choices. You can say, yes, of course you can take your child, whether they're a citizen or not, because it's your child. Or you can say, yes, you can go, but your child must stay behind. And then your headlines would read, U.S. holding hostage 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 7-year-old while mother deported. So the parents make that choice. I imagine those 3 U.S. citizen children have fathers here in the United States. Yeah. They can stay with their father. That's up to their family to decide where the children go. Children go with their parents. Parents decide where their children go. Right. The U.S. deported their mothers who were illegally in America.
Mr. Secretary.
Tim Black's BS detector.
Tim Black's BS detector.
Tim Black's BS detector.
First of all, I never used to like Marco Rubio. Never did, man. My mind was like, Republican bad, evil Republican, right? Robot Rubio. That's what I called him. I think called Robot Rubio. But now that I realize just how horrible the Democrats are, now that I fully have embraced that, he's better than Cory Booker. You know what I'm saying? He's better than Cory Booker. I understand his arguments better. Like, this is a very rational argument, which is, we did not deport the children. We deported their parents. Which leads me to a very important point here. Whenever the Democrats, remember when the Democrats were making all this noise back in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, all this time Trump was in office. They all shut up. They all shut up when Obama was in office, when he was deporting people.
If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. The actions I'm taking are not only lawful, they're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president for the past half-century.
But when Trump started deporting people, it was all about children in cages and splitting up families. That was the talking point. Trump splitting up families. It was never about them splitting up families. It was always about deporting them. That's what the problem was. That's what they didn't like. They didn't like the fact that we were actually following our laws and deporting people that were illegally in the country who were undocumented or who had an order of being removed. That was the problem, because if you keep the family together, you're sending the children back. But if you let the children stay, then you're splitting up the family.
Let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are.
You're talking about separation?
Yeah, well, I mean, there are two aspects to this. Your borders are, Tom Homan said, they can be deported together. Correct. Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep well, I don't want to be breaking up families. So the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them all back.
They want it both ways. They don't want you to split up the family, which is let the children stay and remove the parents who are undocumented. They're still complaining. Now they're saying, even when you keep them together and you deport them both, now they're saying, well, now you're kicking out American citizens who are children who were born here. So they want it both ways. They want you not to split up the family, which is don't remove the mother, let the mother stay with the child in America, even though she's undocumented, even though she's not here legally. And then if you do remove the child and keep them together and say, okay, you got to go with your mother because your mother decides if you stay here or not. The mother is a decider. If that child is an American citizen, then the mother decides, okay, I'm getting deported, I'm taking my child with me. And they're not, of course, they don't say anything negative about the mom who made that decision. They're putting that on the administration for that decision being made.
On Friday, a federal judge who was appointed by President Trump said a 2-year-old American citizen child had been sent to Honduras with the mother who was deported. But the judge said, quote, there was no meaningful process. So again, this is another similar situation and dynamic. Shouldn't there be special care when these deportation cases involve small American-born children?
Well, first of all, I disagree with the judge. There was due process. That female had due process at great taxpayer expense and was ordered by the immigration judge after those hearings. So she had due process. Again, this is parenting 101. You can decide to take that child with you, or you can decide to leave the child here with a relative or another spouse. Having a U.S. citizen child doesn't make you immune from our laws of the country. American families get separated every day by law enforcement. Thousands of times a day when a parent gets put in jail, the child can't go with them. If you're an illegal alien, come to this country, and you decide to have a U.S. citizen child, that's on you. You put yourself in that position.
Well, you know what would be great? What would be great? It would be great is if America treated regular American citizens with such kind gloves.
She said, I know I'm going to jail, but can I braid my daughter's hair one last time? I pulled her over for speeding through a stop sign where kids were actively riding their bike through the neighborhood. Routine stop. But when I ran her name, it hit hard. She had an active felony warrant, obstruction of justice, and fleeing a scene. She'd been avoiding court and skipping supervision checks for almost a year. When I walked to her window, she didn't argue. She didn't cry. She just looked at me and said, I know I'm going to jail. I won't fight that. Then she turned towards the back seat. Her little girl was in a booster seat, holding a hairbrush. She looked at me again and said, can I braid her hair one last time before we go? And I stood there while she gently braided every strand, telling her daughter, be good for auntie. Mommy loves you. I'll be back soon. Her hands were shaking, but her voice never cracked. She stayed calm, focused, like she was trying to leave a piece of herself with her child. Before I cuffed her, she looked up at me and said, thank you, not for the break, but for the dignity.
it's just like these arguments that we make that we've been making here on the Tim Black Show for a good 10 years about how black families, for instance, are torn apart by the system. No consideration. You know, you hear Welker, you hear saying, oh, well, the child had cancer. I'm sorry. Kamala Harris, there was a black mother and the child had a medical condition. I think it was tuberculosis, required a lot of time away from school. Not only did Kamala not give a shit, but she locked the mom up because the child had to stay home with a medical condition.
When Kamala Harris was the California Attorney General, she had me arrested and prosecuted because my handicapped daughter was sick in the hospital and had missed some days of school.
I have sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia is a hereditary disease and it is very, very painful.
So, but you see how it's different here? It didn't matter because that was an American citizen. No one cried a river. No one said, what about the extenuating circumstances and this poor child is sick? But you got this woman here, you got Welker, I think her name is Welker, corporate talking head here, making the point that this child is sick. So what are you doing? Why would you do that when you have a sick child? See, when we made that argument about Kamala, people said we hated black women and we were just misogynistic. We hated women. That's why we cared that she did that. But when they get upset because they say Trump is doing that, they're righteous. They're doing the good fight. This is good trouble. See, when they say Trump is separating families and not caring about the sickness or the illness of a child, they demonize Trump for it. No one has a problem. No one on the left gives a shit. And this is why politics is so horrible, because both sides will continually demonize each other. And I expect that out of politics, but when the media does it, if she had the opportunity to talk to Kamala Harris, would she have posed that question to Kamala and said, why did you separate that mother from her child? You locked that mother up. That child was sick. Why did you do that when you were Attorney General? And why the hell would black people ever support you? And why do you have D.L. Hughley, Ricky Smiley, and Steve Harvey, and Jamal Bryant, and all these other black mouthpieces running out here badgering black people on all across social media for not supporting you when you separated children from their parents in California to feed your prison system for profit, to fight your fires for profit? They won't ask that question. They didn't ask that question. They won't pose these things. So it's not just a hypocrisy of the Democrats and Republican Party. It's the hypocrisy of what's supposed to be our media, which is horrible. Back to this. It would be a beautiful thing if these Democrats wanted for American citizens what they want for the undocumented, non-American citizens. And until they do, kick rocks. That's right, kick all the rocks you can kick. Go find some rocks to kick. I'll give you some rocks to kick, but you can kick rocks. When you break laws in America, no one has a problem with throwing us under the bus, throwing us in jail. America's really good at locking up American citizens. We do it all day, every day, to the tune of hundreds of thousands of people. More than half of the people in jail away from their kids also didn't commit any crimes. Over half of the people that are incarcerated in America that are away from their families, and I'm assuming a lot of those people who are incarcerated have children somewhere. They haven't even gone to trial yet. And if they are, most of them will be offered plea bargains. And if that plea bargain consists of time, then they will be separated from their families. And AOC and Bernie and Chuck Schumer and Cory Booker and Lisa Kudrow, George Clooney, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, whatever her name is, none of them will cry a river for it. Because it's just politics, baby. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. This is the Tim Black Show. We try to get to 400 likes on a Sunday. It's a task, but help us do it by hitting the like button. Let people know that you're watching this show. It helps us in the algorithm. You know the deal. Independent black media stays unapologetic, raw, and real. Now you can wear the movement. From the Tim Black Wolfpack to the Cornbread Collection, we got gear for the real ones. For men, women, even the little ones. No weak threads, no weak messages. Rep the truth. Rep the movement. Hit up timblackpauls.com and grab yours today. Because cornbread ain't free. Wolfpack. Perfect. You made it to the end of the video. I appreciate you. Now, Google thinks this next video is going to be perfect for you. It's right up your alley. So click the next video, watch that with me, and let's keep this politics going. You're built for this.